Financial freedom. It's this big idea, right? Something a lot of us dream about. But the path to actually get there can feel, well, super foggy. So today, we're going to fix that. We are going to lay out a crystal clear step-by-step map that shows you exactly how to get from where you are right now to where you truly want to be. But before we really dive in, I want you to think about this for a second. What does financial freedom actually mean to you? Is it about traveling the world? Or maybe it's just about quitting that job you can't stand. The answer is going to be different for everyone, but the core idea is always the same: having enough money to cover your life without ever having to work for it again, unless you want to.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to define what this journey is all about. Then, we'll break down the climb into three big parts: the crucial first steps, then building up your financial fortress, and finally, reaching the very top. And we'll wrap up by making this whole map personal to you.
All right, first things first. Every good journey needs a map, right? Before we can even think about taking that first step, we need to know exactly what our destination, financial freedom, really is. Okay, so this is super important to get. Financial freedom isn't like winning the lottery. It's not some one-time event. It's a process. It's a state that you build piece by piece, where your assets, your investments, maybe some property, are doing the heavy lifting for you. They're generating enough income to cover all your expenses forever. And boom, here it is, the whole map, laid out right in front of you. We're going to walk through every single one of these 7 stages, from the very bottom at dependency, all the way to the peak of abundance. And as we go, I really want you to think, where am I on this path right now? Because you can't figure out your next move until you know exactly where you're standing.
All right, let's start at the very beginning. These first 3 stages, they are the absolute foundation for everything else. And honestly, they're often the toughest part of the climb, but they are, without a doubt, the most important. So, stage 1, dependency. Look, we all start here. This is when your expenses are just higher than your income, and you're maybe leaning on others or credit cards to fill the gap. The goal right now isn't to magically solve everything. It's just to get a handle on things. Start tracking your money, every single dollar that comes in and every dollar that goes out. I know it can feel like a lot, but that information, it's the bedrock for everything that comes next. And making this jump from dependency to self-sufficiency, wow, it's a huge deal. It means you're breaking free. You no longer need help to cover your own bills. And listen, even if you're living paycheck to paycheck at this stage, you have taken control. And that mindset shift from feeling like you're always behind to feeling like you're in charge, that is a massive, massive win. Next up is stage 3, stability. And honestly, this is where you finally get to breathe. This is the moment you officially break that stressful paycheck to paycheck cycle. For maybe the first time ever, there's actually money left over after all the bills are paid. You're not just surviving anymore. You're starting to build a little cushion. And your first mission, should you choose to accept it, it's super clear. Save $1,000 for a starter emergency fund. This is not for a vacation. This is your first line of defense when life inevitably throws a wrench in your plans. And trust me, the experts are all in agreement. This has to be your #1 priority. And this quote from Adrian Taylor Wells really hits home why this is so important, especially right now. With inflation being what it is, our money just doesn't stretch as far. That $1,000 fund is what turns a potential disaster, like a car breaking down, into just an inconvenience. It's what keeps you from sliding right back into debt. Okay, so once you've laid that foundation, it's time to start building the fortress. Stages 4 and 5 are all about shifting from just surviving to strategically building real long-term wealth and security. And that brings us to stage 4, security. This is all about getting some real peace of mind. You've gotten rid of that nasty, high-interest debt, and you've grown that little starter fund into a serious safety net. We're talking 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Now, if you unexpectedly lose your job, it's a challenge, for sure, but it's not a catastrophe. Now, I get it. 6 months of expenses? That sounds huge, like a mountain. But the key here isn't trying to do it all at once. It's about consistency. It's about making it a priority month in and month out. You don't have to get there overnight. You just have to keep going. And I love this idea here. Up until now, your money has been all about playing defense, building that safety net, right? But now you get to play offense. You can actually start putting your money to work for you, investing in things like stocks or real estate, actively building your wealth.
And all that offense, all that investing, it leads you here. Stage 5, flexibility. This is where the dream starts to feel so real. Your investments have grown to the point where they could cover your life for a whole year, maybe even 2. This gives you the freedom to take a sabbatical, to start that business you've been dreaming of, or to just take a year to be with your family without any financial stress. You have real, actual options.
All right, we've built the fortress. Now, let's look up at the summit. These last 2 stages, this is the peak of the mountain we've been climbing. This is the ultimate goal of this entire journey. Stage 6, financial independence. This is it. This is the goal. You made it. This is that moment where you can officially walk away from your job because the income coming from your investments is now enough to fund your lifestyle forever. This is what it really means to retire, completely on your own terms.
And then there's stage 7, abundance. Honestly, at this point, you have more money than you will ever need. The whole conversation about money just changes completely. It's not about security or even your own freedom anymore. It's about the legacy you can leave behind and the impact you can have on others.
Okay, so we've seen the whole journey from the bottom of the mountain all the way to the top. But let's bring this back to you and what this all means for your personal path. Look, here's the bottom line. This whole process is simple, but it is not easy. It takes being intentional, it takes determination. Plenty of people make a great income but stay stuck in those early stages because they aren't deliberate with their money. Your progress up this mountain is decided by all those small financial choices you make every single day.
So, here we are. You've seen the map, you have the full picture, from dependency all the way to abundance. You now have a clarity that most people just don't. So the only question that really matters is the one right here in front of you. Knowing where you are on this map, what is the single very next step you are going to take?